Muted. And we are now live. The
It
meeting,
is 7:15, 6:15, and we will start the meeting. Ms. Rodarte, can you lead us to the,
not
roll
yet,
call.
Mr. Rodriguez. Give
Rodriguez,
me a
we
quick
have
second.
to just notify the public that we're virtually.
Okay.
We have a statement. Sorry.
The meeting of the City of Socorro City Council is set to begin. First and foremost, the City of Socorro would like to thank everyone and ask for your patience during this difficult time we have been presented with. Everyone, please remember to silence any electronics and avoid sound interruption. No disruptive or outburst behavior will be tolerated, and violators are subject to call disconnection and possible prosecution. In accordance with Section 418.016 of the Texas Government Code and by order of the Office of the Governor issued March 16, 2020, the City Council of the City of Socorro will broadcast the meeting scheduled today, Thursday, December 3rd, 2020, at 6 p.m. from City Hall chambers located at 860 Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, via telephone conference and live stream in order to advance the public health goal and practice social distancing to slow the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19. The public that signed up and any presenters will be called upon by the presiding officer during the meeting to speak during the public comment or their agenda item during the meeting following Government Code 551.042. La reunión del Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Primeramente queremos darle las gracias y pedimos su paciencia durante estos momentos críticos que enfrentamos. Les pedimos que pongan en silencio todo equipo electrónico para evitar interrupción de sonido. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. A quien no siga estas reglas, su llamada será desconectada y puede ser infraccionada. De acuerdo con sección 418.016 del Código del Gobierno de Texas y por orden de la Oficina del Gobernador, anunciado el 16 de marzo de 2020, el Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro transmitirá la reunión hoy, jueves 3 de diciembre de 2020 a las 6 p.m. desde la sala del Concilio ubicados en 860 Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, por medio de conferencia telefónica y será transmitida en vivo para avanzar el objetivo y la salud pública para practicar el distanciamiento social, para tomar medidas preventivas para prevenir la propagación del coronavirus COVID-19 a los demás y por la seguridad del público. El público y los presentadores serán anunciados por el oficial conduciendo la reunión para poder hablar durante la sección del comentario público o después de la discusión del artículo de la agenda por cual se apuntaron siguiendo las reglas del gobierno 551.042.
6:19, the meeting is now called to order. Ms. Rodarte, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Mayor, can you give us a moment? We just lost sound. Can you please give us a quick moment?
You can't hear us.
Testing. Okay, Mayor, my apologies.
Item number 2, Ms. Rodarte, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, establishment of quorum.
Rene Rodriguez,
Here.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Here.
Mayor Elia Garcia,
Here.
Victor Perez,
Here.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Here.
Mayor, we do have a quorum.
Item number 4, public comment.
We have two speakers signed up, Mayor. Our first speaker is Sal Chagoya. Mr. Chagoya?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Chagoya.
So I just, oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Just want to take this quick moment just to give my gratitude to Mr. Rodriguez. Um, I had the pleasure working with you, and I think you did a phenomenal job. Being part of City Council. I know you'll be greatly missed, but on my end, I just wanted to just give that kudos to you. Also wanted to thank Mr. Jim Martinez, the attorney. I think he's also doing a phenomenal job on what he's doing. So there are some good people in council and some good city employees that are doing a phenomenal job. So today, I know I'm very critical on a lot of things that I say, but today I just wanted to just kind of share my kudos around the stuff that I see. Again, police department's doing a phenomenal job as well, even during this COVID. I see them patrolling and they're out in the neighborhood. So Chief Burden, appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Continue and tell your officers the great job that they're doing. And just the last thing that I just want to say before I hang up is, I just wish that Ralph Vidal would stop suing the city of El Paso. Socorro. So hopefully that stops with the new council that's coming in. Thank you.
Iván Colón Villalobos.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to also say farewell to Mr. Rodriguez. You will be missed. Thank you for being there when I needed guidance. And I know that it's not the last time we're going to hear from you. I know that you have a deep passion for Socorro and that you will continue to serve in your own way. And maybe we'll see you back in one of our seats in the future. So, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for, I know you and I didn't get along at first, but we made it work. And even though we're not an item or a team like everyone thinks, we highly respect each other and our opinions, which is something that we had to learn to do together in order to move forward with our city. So I just really want to thank you for that, and farewell and good luck. Thank you.
Mayor, those were all our speakers.
Moving on to consent agenda, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
René Rodríguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran.
Yes.
Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Iván Colón Villalobos.
Aye, thank you. Yes.
Item number 9, public hearing of an ordinance to amend chapter 46, zoning, sections 46-239, accessory structures, 46-263, accessory structures, 46-329, accessory structures, 46-352, accessory structures, and 46-623, accessory building, to reduce rear setback requirements for accessory structures. 625, public hearing is now open.
Mayor, nobody is signed up for public hearing on this item.
Is there anybody outside or on the line?
We don't have anybody on the line.
Perfect. Moving on to item number 10, second reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend chapter 46 zoning, sections 46-239, accessory structures, 46-263, accessory structures, 46-329, accessory structures, 46-353, accessory structures, and 46-623, accessory building, to reduce rear setback requirements for accessory structures.
Motion to approve for discussion?
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This ordinance, I'm going to put it on the screen here real quick. This is a proposal to do some changes on several sections of the code. Most of the sections are to reduce required setbacks for accessory buildings. As you can see on some of these sections, there's a 10-foot required separation from the rear. They're allowed 5 feet on the side. And this has been creating a problem for several residents throughout the city on all the zones. So the ones that you have on the screen here, see on R1, we're asking to reduce this to 5 feet. R2, same thing. RM1, RM2, and under section 46.352, this is for the rest of the properties, including commercial and industrial zones, where everybody's required to have a 10-foot or 3 feet separation. It should be 5 feet. And then additional problematic areas that we included here are points that you see here highlighted on the screen in blue. Section number 1, it says that no more than one accessory building intended to be used as storage shall be allowed per lot, unless the property, and this is something that was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, if the property is over an acre, they would like for you to allow to 5 accessory buildings to be used for storage. On point number 2, accessory storage shall not be allowed until 50% of the principal structure has been erected. This has been a problem on some properties where somebody buys a vacant lot and they want to build an accessory building and they never end up building a principal structure. So what happens is it becomes a storage of materials or other items that create a negative impact in residential zones. On number 3, or C, shipping containers, this also is related to several complaints that we've had in the past from residents that complain from neighbors installing shipping containers in residential zones. This does not affect commercial properties. It's only for residential zones because shipping containers are not consistent with the architecture of a building. It creates a negative impact on those areas as well.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you. Joel, quick question.
Yes, sir.
For item, or rather, letter A, why 5 accessory buildings where there's an acre or over an acre? That to me is a lot because it all depends on the size of the building too.
Yes, and that's a good question. When we presented this to the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Planning and Zoning Department was recommending no more than 2. But after having a discussion with the commission, they decided that there's properties that are large enough to accommodate more buildings. So they recommended that we include this language here that says that no more than 5 accessory buildings, including 2 accessory buildings for storage. So
my concern is that they'll have these 5 accessory buildings and they'll turn into something else.
yes, yes. And that's
And
the reason why we recommended only a maximum of 2. So it's up to your discretion.
I would, as we end the discussion, I would like to amend my motion to maybe 3. I don't know if anybody feels the same way, or even less, only because I think 5 is a high number for accessory buildings on larger properties.
Mr. Rodriguez?
I agree with you, Mr. Perez. I think it should be 2. Keep it at a minimum. 2, there's no need for 3 or 4 or 5. 2 is enough on an acre.
Because you would think that, and again, I apologize, if I may, Madam Mayor, real quick, I apologize, Mr. Duran, that if this is let's say a commercial area, then there should be allowances for storage within the main building. And so again, that's the last thing that we would like to see is having different buildings used, and again, that it may not be used for the intended purpose later on.
Mr. Duran?
Joe, because it's an acre, they're allowed to have farm animals. Are corrals considered accessory buildings?
Yes, well, not corrals, but let's say if you have like, what they're called, like establos,
Yeah,
uh, stables, I guess, could be
Same thing as
considered an
corral.
accessory building, uh, not the corrals, no.
Okay, you're talking about an enclosed,
Yes,
inside
if it's enclosed on at least 3 sides, according to the building codes, it will be considered an accessory building.
and they can only have one horse, so they would only be able to have one corral or one stable.
Correct.
How about chicken coops? Are those considered accessory buildings?
Yes, the ordinance actually allows 2 horses per half acre. So in a property that is 1 acre, you could be allowed up to 4.
So, but if there was a stable that could handle 4 horses, is that considered one building or 4 buildings?
If it's all part of one structure, we will consider it one building. If they're all detached, then they will be considered separate buildings, independent from each other. And then the last one, I don't know if you have any more questions about this one. On the last one, accessory buildings shall only be allowed in the rear or the side of the principal structure. This one goes back to certain properties where people build a warehouse looking kind of storage building in the front of the property. And the owners of those lands ended up regretting it. So if we had this language, we would be a little more cautious where structures would be allowed. And those are the only changes that we were proposing on these sections of the code. I don't know if you have any more questions.
No, but I have one more question. There's the residents that have a shipping container as a storage unit. Those would be grandfathered in because they've been pre-existent to this ordinance, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so if I may, I'd like to go ahead and amend my motion to only allow 2 accessory structures on land that is of an acre or more.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
And no.
Item number 11, discussion and action to approve the second amendment to the CARES Act funding interlocal agreement between the city of Socorro and El Paso County.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This is Alejandra Valadez, Grants Coordinator for the City of Socorro. This item is a second amendment to the CARES Act funding interlocal agreement that already exists between the City of Socorro and the City of El Paso. This second amendment will allow the City of Socorro to subcontract with vendors, nonprofits, and other organizations such as small businesses on COVID-19 related matters. Currently, the existing interlocal agreement does not allow us to subcontract. Adopting this new amendment will allow us to subcontract with other organizations such as Lift Fund for the purpose of administering CARES Act funding to assist small businesses that are struggling due to COVID-19 in Socorro. I'm not sure if you have any questions.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you. I don't know, so expand, I apologize. So what, can you give an example of how that would, I know that you're talking about like a third-party administration or how would you give an example of that, please?
Yes, a perfect example is the item that is coming up next. We would like to subcontract with Live Fund so that they can administer the funds to the small businesses on our behalf. That is currently difficult for us because we don't have the internal expertise to take all those applications from small businesses, determine if they are eligible, all of that takes a bit of manpower and expertise. They have been doing that all across Texas and cities like El Paso and Laredo. So this is a perfect example for a type of agreement that we can move forward with.
So then the follow-up would be, would they have an overhead that they would charge us like off the top?
Yes, absolutely. In this upcoming item, the overhead is 8%, and that's an administrative fee for them to hire the right amount of people that it takes to administer such a program.
And I know it's an obvious, I know there's an obvious answer, but so then this is within the parameters of the CARES Act funding, correct?
Correct, yes. There are many cities have been able to enter in agreements such as this one.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, also, I talked to Judge Samaniego. I'll tell you when. I don't want yesterday. So I sent a text and stuff, and then when we were having a discussion with actually with one of our ex commissioners, Mr. Landeros, I told him about my concerns and my issues, and one of those is that I know that in El Paso they're using Live funds as well. Am I correct on that, Ms. Valdez?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so I've had calls with one of my neighbors, actually two of my neighbors, where I have my business in El Paso, and they were saying that it's very difficult for them to apply because it's only from 1,500 to 5,000, and it just depends on how it's structured, and it was very difficult for them to get approved. And that was an issue that I told Mr. Landeros. And so with the county judge, that was the issue, is that we're going to go ahead and do this, and yet what happens to our Socorroans who are their small businesses, because they're not like El Paso. The majority of ours are mom and pops. So what happens if they don't meet that threshold? Then we're just going to have that money stuck. So I'm just letting you guys know that I'm still, until my last days, I'll still be fighting, because we want to see if we can find another source that can, and Mr. Perez, I hope that I will be in contact with you so that you can, move this forward when I'm gone, because I just don't want to say we're going to approve an X amount of number and then they don't qualify or meet the criteria. And I think that our residents are hurting, and we need to help them. So I'll be still working on this with the county judge's office, and just letting you guys know that we can. It's a good thing to start, but we should tweak it so that the eligibility would have a higher rate of possibility of the applicant being accepted. So that's all. That's my 2 cents.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 12, discussion and action to approve the use of $350,000 of CARES Act funding for the Socorro Small Business Relief Program, and approve a subrecipient agreement with Live Fund Incorporated to administer the financial assistance for small businesses in Socorro, Texas that have been
Motion to-
affected by the COVID-19 shutdowns.
Sorry about that. Motion to approve?
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Again, Alejandra Valadez, Grants Coordinator. So this is that item that we had mentioned previously. This is an action to approve $350,000 total in CARES Act funding for the Socorro Small Business Relief Program that would require a subrecipient agreement with Lift Fund for them to administer that financial assistance. There is, alluding to your question, Mr. Rodriguez, there is a program scope that is attached in the backup. I know the backup is super long. I apologize, but it's actually included in Exhibit A, and that is the program scope. We did meet with Lift Fund, and they provided feedback on how to make some of this funding more available to Socorro businesses. So we did reduce the number of employees that are needed in order to qualify. We brought that down to, I believe, 3 employees. We also moved up the award amount up to $20,000 per business. That's of course if they really need that assistance. And there's a couple of more items that we also tweaked, such as a requirement for the 2020 IRS 941. We only require not the first quarter form. And there's a requirement to demonstrate a loss of at least 10%. We dropped that down from a 15% revenue loss to 10%, just to make that more available. Also, Lift Fund is no longer requiring businesses to submit all documents at once. They can actually submit the application first, just so that to get the application started, and then they can submit the backup documentation later. And that's to expedite the whole application process. There's also going to be a City of Socorro website where all of these program requirements are going to be explained, and they can apply online. And we also have Ms. Lupe Mares with Lift Fund here on the call in case you all have any additional questions for her. Of course, they're the experts. We're just assisting to make this program happen.
Good evening, Councilman. Again, my name's Lupe Mares. I am the Vice President of the Southwest Region, which includes El Paso, the state of New Mexico, and West Texas. And Mr. Rodriguez, thank you for what you mentioned about you thought that it was difficult for small businesses. Now, that is something that we're working with very closely. We are working very closely with the small business owners, as Ms. Valdez mentioned, that we are working. You know, if they can't, a lot of these small business owners are not tech savvy, number one. And so we're helping them in any way we can. We have an approval form where they can sign and give us authorization to go ahead and input that information for them as we have them on the telephone or on a virtual call like this. But again, it's, you know, a lot of them are not very tech savvy. We've gone as far as allowing them to take photos of their documents and texting them to us so that we can upload that information. So we're doing everything we can to make it as simple as possible. I do have a couple of interns that will be helping me, both English and Spanish, to reach out to the small businesses in Socorro. Ms. Valadez also mentioned to us that you would be able to provide us a directory of those small businesses registered with the city of Socorro. So we're willing to do anything it takes. I am a very big advocate for small businesses. I believe truly that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. I worked for the Federal Reserve. I just retired last year for 34 years with the Federal Reserve, and I really concentrated on community development, economic development, and so my heart is in it. I'm very passionate about it, and I'm here to help. I've also kept contacting Ms. Valadez, you know, to remind her to see if there's anything we can do. That money has to be spent before December 31st. And so we're on the clock. It's very important, but I can answer any questions if any of you have any questions. Yes, sir.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you because that was a big concern. Once I heard that, uh, one of my neighbors where I have my business, they're saying like, oh my God, I can't meet the criteria and stuff like that, but they really need it. I thought about it when I saw this agenda item. The first thing I needed to do is say, hey, if these guys can't meet the requirements, what's going to happen to our mom and pops? And it's very concerning and very hard. It's just it we're not a wealthy city. We the majority of us here in Socorro, we have two jobs, or we have full-time and a part-time. Both parents work, and some of the kids work to help. So when you're hurting, and then especially in a mom and pop, right? What about the people who have the taco stands and the burrito stands and stuff? Those are the ones that really also need help, and they might not have that 8, 10 employees, so they won't even qualify. So those are the issues that I had, and thank you for tweaking it. Like I said, changing the criteria so that everybody could be eligible, because everybody needs help. Everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Mr. Rodriguez, I want to assure you that I'm also working with some funding that I received from the Hispanics in Philanthropy, specifically for the Colonia. So I have been working very closely with them to try to. These are $5,000 grants, but believe me, 5,000 goes a long way for them. We're talking about those taco stands. We're talking about the dulcerias, you name it. And so we have been there working very carefully and closely with them to help them. And this is an opportunity to help them also with technical assistance, to have their business registered, for number one, because a lot of these small businesses are not registered. And so there's a lot of things, there's a lot of room for growth to help. And so that is exactly what we're doing, Mr. Rodriguez. So thank you for your concerns and for voicing those concerns, and we will do our best to help all these small businesses. That is my goal, Mr. Rodriguez, and I can assure you of that.
Thank you. Could you send me some your information after the meeting, so I can
Absolutely.
and I could just disseminate,
Oh, yes, please. And that's what we need. We need your help disseminating this information. Absolutely, that's what we need. And I will be happy to send you my information. If you have any other additional concerns, please feel free to reach out to me.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mayor,
Mr. Duran?
Mayor.
Ms. Maris, also, could you send me your information also? Because I've been contacted by several small businesses.
Wonderful. Yes, sir.
And
Of
they
course.
are just really hurting. They're about to be evicted. They're about to lose their leases. And so, and if, like you say, if it has to be done by the 31st, quicker the better. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Ms. Villalobos?
I think we're all requesting the same thing, which is if you could just, I guess Ms. Rodarte can be your point of contact, and she can just distribute the information to all of us of where these small businesses can apply.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And Ms. Valadez, as a matter of fact, has the test link. So all the information is there, and absolutely, we'll send those to you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to clarify that I looked through the backup again. We removed the requirement for a number of employees in a business. There is no number of employees required to apply. So if you have 1 employee, 2 employees, you can apply.
Or a sole proprietor for that matter, where they're self-employed. So we are, and I wanted to mention that. Thank you for the reminder. Yes, a sole proprietor can apply.
Thank you. That's great.
Mayor, and for the record, Mr. Nevares joined the meeting at 6:44.
And I do apologize. I had an emergency.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 13, Discussion and action regarding personnel matters involving municipal courts.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item has been on the agenda for several months now, so at Mayor's request, we went ahead and made the reports public.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
And we do have Mayor that signed up for the item. I don't know if you want to allow her to speak before you have discussion or after your discussion.
I think before.
Before it's fine for me. I don't know the rest of my
Yeah,
colleagues.
that's fine with me as well.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia, you have a minute and a half.
Well, I reviewed the investigation and I continue to reiterate, it's astonishing that it took almost 2 years to get 4 pages from the Valenzuela law firm and a page and a couple of lines from Lehr and Associates. I went and reviewed this page and, it feels like if I'm being held in trial for homicide, but all I did was make a couple of phone calls. And I want to let council know that I got hired on this case in January of 2017. And here we are at the end of 2020 and barely going through this. I went ahead and reviewed the report and I had a couple of comments to add. On, I guess, paragraph 3, application of law, policy, and procedures to facts. On the second paragraph, it states that I failed to address city manager, city attorney, or department heads, but I like to let council know that every phone call that I made, I contacted the number to municipal court, and if the clerks answered, I was always transferred to Isela Gonzalez, who is the department head. I also like to state that on the charter, it states that the court is separate and apart from any of the other departments. So at that time, I wasn't sure how I can contact Ms. Rodarte to go ahead and contact me to the court if they're separate and apart.
Mayor, your time is up.
Can I request that the rules be
Suspended?
Yeah. I'll make a
suspended?
motion to suspend the rules, give her an additional 5 minutes.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran. Mr. Duran,
Yes.
Victor
Don't need it?
Perez,
Okay.
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Okay, so continuing, the third paragraph states that if the information is readily available to the public, that I can answer and inquire as to any of that information, and that this information was not readily available to the public because it was concerning a specific defendant. However, if that defendant directly calls the court, they will give them that information. Or if grandma, mother, tia calls the court requesting information on a minor child, they will give them that information. And a lot of times, all they ask is for the defendant's name and date of birth and for the citation number. So they don't really take the time to verify that the person that is calling is the correct person. Additionally, it states that staff treated me differently from the general public. I never requested to be treated differently. I went ahead and reviewed the employee handbook, and there's nothing on there that states, what a staff should do concerning an incident like this. It says that the last line, due to this, I obtained information over the phone, which information would normally be researched for written correspondence. I don't understand where it says that I have to request the information in a written correspondence. I looked everywhere and there's nowhere standard operating procedures for the court or stating how the court gives information out to defendants. Moving on to page 4. Once again, it states that there was interference with administration, but it's unclear. The reason why that isn't clear is again because on the city charter, on section 4.04, paragraph G, it states that the court is separate and apart. If anything, the city charter trumps anything. And like I said, from reviewing the city charter from start to end, there was nowhere where it describes guidelines as to how the employee should have acted or how I should have acted. A lot of these phone calls were made prior to when I was even held in office. I didn't even know that there was going to be a special election. The only reason why I called the court so much, getting closer to the election, was exactly because I wanted to try and resolve this matter before I was sworn in as mayor. This matter happened again. I was hired in 2017, and I talked to the prosecutor in this case in December of 2019, and I have in my voicemails that call from Clark Harmonson, who's supposed to be the prosecutor, calling me directly stating that this case would likely be dismissed and that if the defendant was requesting additional time to hire a different attorney, he would go ahead and provide them with that courtesy. So like I said, this is typical Socorro. The left hand does not tell the right hand what it's doing. It's stating that I was not supposed to talk to staff, but yet we have our prosecutor calling me directly regarding this matter when there was already an investigation allegedly taking place. I don't understand.
Trura.
Does the municipal court have a separate employee handbook?
No, sir.
Okay, because I looked through the handbook. I went ahead and got a copy of it. And I don't see anywhere in there where it even mentions the municipal court. So I figured that because it's not mentioned, that there's a separate handbook. So if there's no handbook, how do they know what their proper procedures are at the courthouse?
Mr. Nevada?
I don't know what to say.
Mr. Nevada?
Yes, can you
Hello?
hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Villalobos.
Okay. So we can go back and forth on these items, but personally, I think every question that's being proposed by Ms. Garcia today should be addressed to Jim, and Jim, you should be able to answer every question. If it's in fact that it's not noted anywhere, why was it treated that way, et cetera, because I don't think as council, we can answer those questions without going into executive and asking these questions ourselves to the attorney. So to be fair, Ms. Garcia, I think the best thing you can do for yourself is write the questions down and have Jim answer them. And hopefully there's a resolution to all this by doing this.
Mr. Duran, and you made a motion to approve, but can you clarify what we need to approve?
Okay, I think I'd like to amend my motion to allow Mayor Garcia to have written questions posed to our city attorney, and then he can get back with us at the next meeting. That's my motion.
Hopefully there's a resolution to all this by doing this.
I hope so too. We need to get these answers. questions answered. And I think that's the best way. Thank you, Ms. Villalobos.
Do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second it.
Rene Rodriguez?
Wait, I have a question. Well, I have a comment before I answer.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Miss Villalobos, can you please mute the device that you have in the background? Because it is coming through your device.
Yeah, it's throwing me off. About the comments that it took 2 years and so forth and so forth. As I recall, it's beating a dead horse. We gave her enough adequate time to come in. The last day, she lowered up. It added more time, and so forth and so forth. So we always had some speed bumps to get this done in the get-go. That's why it took forever. And then we had to hire someone else, and then they got sick and so forth and so forth. So that's why it took a lot of time. And I will always stress. And one of the comments she said on the last time that this was brought up was that she stated that she wanted to do this in public. No, she didn't. And I will say this: I looked back at the video, and it said that, and you only said, Mayor, with all due respect, you said, I just would like to address council. That's it. Nowhere in that did you say that I wanted to tackle this in public, that you wanted everything, the investigation, to be public. So I'm just throwing that out there. That was a lie. I'm just correcting you on that because the video does state that you just wanted to address it. We didn't tackle it there, so you didn't address us, but that's it. And other than that, that's it. And I guess, if Jim, can answer the questions and bring him back, I think I'm fine with that. Aye.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Ralph Duran?
Just to bring something out that was left out, Mayor Garcia requested that the findings be made public so that she could address them. Yes.
Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Do we have anything for executive?
Yes, we do. Nevares Road.
Okay.
Mr. Duran, I think the motion has to include for consultation with the attorney, no?
I did put in there that for Jim to be able to answer the questions of Mayor Garcia.
Oh,
For going into executive?
yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, to consult with the attorney.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
All right, it's the second.
I stand corrected.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Ralph Duran?
Yes.
Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Okay, if you all will allow me
It's 7:05.
a brief moment to go into executive session.
Okay.
We are now back in regular session.
7:28.
Do we have anything for item 14, 15, and 16?
Book a motion to delete.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Motion to
Number-
adjourn.
Item
Number
number
17.
17. Discussion and action on
Sorry.
the authorization for the acquisition of properties related to the North Nevadas roadway project.
Make a motion to approve the city planner's recommendation to move forward.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Just real quick, people, now that I'm at the polls, they come and tell me all the time that they really hate that we don't say why we're voting on or what we're voting on, and you know what was the outcome of the conversation. But at this time, I want to reassure the public that because we are in negotiations, we cannot discuss it. But later on, it's probably going to be known. Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
No apology?
Mr. Perez, call
Yep.
me.
Never apologize for adjourning.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Mr. Perez, please call me too.
So, Mr. Pettis, call me also too, please.
Everybody, be careful.
Bye.